Hey, folks, as you see, we're talking about January 2025. We have some wild times ahead. You see, we have the chart over here, and we're going to be going through these shifts that we have. And you can see that we're going to have these themes of hope, delusion, new beginnings, not just because it's a new year, Mercury, Venus, Mars shift, and more are ahead. So this is going to be a very interesting month ahead. And of course, we're starting a new year. There's also some new things that I have. The 2025 forecasts are ready. There's links below the video for you to take advantage of that. And I've also added a very new and interesting thing to my full member program where you can get monthly meditation. The first one was already done. So there's a lot ahead. I'm really excited about talking about that with you today. Of course, as always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, get notified of new videos like this one, which I do on an ongoing basis. You can see this calendar here. We have, I want to thank Casey Scott at Gold Star Astrology for the calendar. We're going to have him on soon. You can get this calendar also for 2025 that has all of the shifts for each month as they occur. So that's also another thing to be looking at. So let's dive right in. First, you can see where the planets are now. At the beginning of the year, Mercury is in Scorpio, where we're contemplating that story in our head, trying to overcome the scary story in our head. And you can see Mercury enter Sagittarius right at the beginning of January. Mercury moves from Scorpio into Sagittarius on January 3rd. And that's going to bring a more hopeful story, a story more aligned with higher teachings, higher wisdom, however we, perceive that. But it's also where we need to be careful not to just follow a dogmatic story, but to also question our beliefs and dogmas and make sure they are intelligent and that they make sense. We can start to see the holes and the flaws in those things that we believe blindly, where perhaps we didn't gather enough information at first, right? Things that we believed in can start to be diminished when Mercury goes into Sagittarius, because now we have, there's a little more light. Now we have more information. So again, that's both good for our beliefs, but it can be a little frustrating for us. So again, be careful. Instead of arguing with your teachers and gurus and blaming them, again, now maybe they were deceptive and dishonest, but maybe you just projected your desire to believe onto them. And now that Mercury's gone into Sagittarius, you're kind of waking up a little more and saying, I shouldn't have bought that. I shouldn't have believed that. I should have used more discrimination, and the next time I will. I'm thinking of politics, to be honest with you. I'm thinking of, we just had that election when Mercury was in Scorpio, and, now we're about to see what's going to happen. And it's like, okay, is that what I thought it was going to be? For example, about all kinds of things. And by the way, very recently, even in the news, we saw where Joe Biden had his moment where he said, I shouldn't have dropped out. I think I could have beaten Trump and all this kind of stuff, as an example. His kind of Mercury retrograde in Scorpio. And now, one of the things about when these planets are on the verge of changing signs, we start to already anticipate the next thing that's coming, because Mercury has been in Scorpio for a couple months. Now he's only a couple days away from leaving, and we're starting to question. It's like we're leaving that thing behind. So this is how transits work, all right? And particularly as planets start to leave a place where they've been, where they've been longer than usual, we start to really want to put that thing behind us. And so we're already starting to put some of this Mercury and Scorpio stuff behind us and question, like, what was I thinking? So again, then when he goes into Sagittarius, Friday, January 3rd, it's going to be like, oh yeah, right. I shouldn't have believed that, for example. Now, again, I use the politics as an example, but there's a lot of things around you that you may be looking at. Again, we just had the new moon in Sagittarius, as you can see here on where it says Monday, December 30th. So then we have on this full moon, the next big shift is the full moon on January 13th. That full moon is in Gemini, Punarvasu Nakshatra. So that full moon is opposite the new moon that we just had in Sagittarius. You could see how it's like 15 days later, right? And 14, 15 days later. So this new moon was in Sagittarius, and then the full moon is in Gemini opposite that. So again, I'll do a full thing on that, but this is where we're actually taking those Sagittarius themes and questioning and reflecting back on how our beliefs and our belief system and whatnot is working out for us. You know, I just did the new moon in Sagittarius video. I just did that. So go ahead and watch it. I also did the member site forecast. As you see, new moon in Sagittarius, members for all 12 signs. I just did that also, because this is what people get when you become a member, because each of these cycles are going to influence each of us differently. For example, I have a Gemini rising sign. So this new moon that just happened was in my 7th house, right? This new moon in Sagittarius, my 7th house. So now this full moon is going to be in my 1st house. So it harmonizes this energy. So if you had a Scorpio rising sign, this new moon was in your 2nd house, and the full moon is then going to be in your 8th house to harmonize the energy. So again, this is what I do in the member site. At the Oracle level, you get all these forecasts. That includes 2 weekly forecasts as well on the regular days and the Vedic days, you know, the Vedic Panchangas, the Nakshatras and all the other stuff. But anyway, just to say, you can see it laid out in this calendar very clearly, new moons and full moons. So again, just in general, for all of us, it's going to be that full moon in Gemini where we're trying to integrate the Gemini intelligence and discrimination and skepticism even with the Sagittarius hope and inspiration and purpose. Then we see Mercury is combust here until February 26th. Mercury's combust quite a lot. Then we see Mars, who continues to be retrograde. He goes back into Gemini. As you can see, Mars is retrograde at the beginning of the month, 6 degrees, but then by the time we reach January 20th, he goes back into Gemini. So now Mars is going to go back into Gemini until April. So this is a huge shift. We've had Mars in Cancer since October 20th. So October 20th, November, December, January, 3 months. Think of everything that's happened since October 20th. Again, one of the big things is we had this election in the U.S. Well, Mars has been in Cancer that whole time. Now he's going to go back into Gemini from January 20th until April 1st. Again, now Mars is going to be in Gemini, all this Gemini focus on questioning what we've done, what we're doing, and how that's working out for us. And again, just to say, and I'm not beating a dead horse here, but I am making sure people know in these 2025 forecasts, I go through all of these shifts This was one of the major shifts of 2025, was this Mars back and forth between Cancer and Gemini, and what it means for you, because it's different for each of us. Again, I'm a Gemini person, so Mars has been my second and first house. Again, if you're Pisces, it's your fifth and fourth house. So if you want to know how that particular shift and the other 10 important shifts, like the Venus retrograde, Venus is about to also go into Pisces. What does that mean if you're, if you're an Aries person? So again, not that expensive, like $20, you can get it for your forecast, or you can get all 12 for all the people in your life and understand how these major shifts are influencing everyone. Whether you know it or not, that's what's happening. So this Mars shift back into Gemini is huge from January 20th until April 1st. Wherever that sign falls for you, and not to mention if you have any planets in Gemini or whatever. I got a bunch of planets there too. So it's a huge thing. So again, all of these shifts are incredibly profound. And as you can see, it says Sam's member site, or you can just click that join button under this video in order to get all of these member videos down here, and particularly the Oracle level for only $30. You can also get the monthly meditations and every video, which is about 15 videos a month. So again, people always ask me, how do I stay up to date? What's the best thing? To me, this is the best thing. It's about $1 a day. And you get 3 or 4 videos for each day. And then you also get monthly meditations, classes, all kinds of stuff. So then Mercury goes into Capricorn. Look how fast Mercury went through Sagittarius. Now, this is what happens after Mercury is retrograde. Then he starts moving really fast. And you see how fast he moves. It's actually 21 days. It's a little faster. That's about his aggregate speed, actually. So, but it seems fast, especially because he was in Scorpio for like 2 months. So he's going to move through. He starts Sagittarius on January 3rd, and then January 24th, he's already leaving. So again, in 3 weeks, Mercury's going to go through Sagittarius and say, okay, do you really understand all those things you believe? Do they make sense? Can you explain them? Because that's how you can tell how well you understand something, is how well you can explain it. Maybe you believe all this stuff, but can you explain it? That's what Mercury in Sagittarius is going to do. And then he goes into Capricorn and says, okay, now maybe these things inspire you, but are you practicing them? Are you really working hard on them? Are you putting them into practice? Are you implementing them? That's Capricorn. Are you making a commitment to these ideas? Are these ideas really, do you take them seriously? All this stuff is Mercury and Capricorn. Again, it's very virtuous when Mercury's in Saturn ruled signs, because it brings that fast, curious energy into not necessarily the harsh realities, but the world of consequences. This is one of the biggest things of Saturn and Capricorn especially, is we become aware of consequences. And again, so we can work through all of our philosophical misunderstandings with Mercury and Sagittarius, and then have a lot of ideas, but it's really of no consequence unless we put it into practice. It's really of no consequence unless we implement it and put it into practice. By the way, you see this link here, my 2025 Vedic Astrology. That's also the link for my 2025 Vedic astrology.com. That's the link for these forecasts. There's also this 2025 Vedic reading, is where you can have me look at all of the 10 most important shifts for your chart as well. And you see these links below the video. So then we have this major shift, and this is the beginning of a huge shift throughout the next several months, where Venus goes into Pisces, January 27th. Now, of course, that's where Venus is exalted, but It's also where Venus is going to be hanging out, because then it's going to go retrograde. Then she's going to be there until into April. And then we're going to have eclipses. This whole big shift into Pisces is going to begin, which also includes eclipses and whatnot. So this sign of Pisces is incredibly profound at the beginning of this year. Again, and those who have gotten my 2025 free forecast as well, you could see just the free forecast, the free webinar. The main or the major focus at the beginning of the year is that Mars going back and forth between Cancer and Gemini, and then this focus on Pisces, this pileup of energy in Pisces. Because Venus goes in there, and then Mercury, and then they both go retrograde, and then we have an eclipse, and then Saturn goes into Pisces at the end of March. So we're about to have a huge shift of energy into Pisces, including Saturn setting up there for 2.5 years. So you better get used to the Pisces energy in your life. Again, it's not optional. This is going to happen, whether you're ready for it or not. So that's why I do these forecasts. And again, I talk about it in this one for you, and also for the personal forecast. But wherever that sign of Pisces is going to be huge. For me, it's my 10th house. That's why I'm having a lot of shifts and changes around my work, right? If you're a Virgo, it's your 7th house. So that the beginning of that huge shift of energy into Pisces starts January 27th with Venus going into Pisces. Now, again, Venus is also that planet of relationship, connection, accommodation, wanting to connect with others and get along. All of that also, when it moves into Pisces, it's where we can find this beauty, joy, and happiness for no reason, where it's not just about our desires. And the suffering of Venus comes when we become possessive over things and people, and we say, that's mine, he's mine, she's mine, it's mine. And then life will teach us something different. It's not yours. Nothing here is yours. Everything belongs to the goddess. Everything belongs to the goddess, Maya, including your own body, everyone else's body, the things you like. That's a gift from God to be able to enjoy this life. We came here, we have this karma, and it could just be all suffering and hell, but it's not. It's also beautiful. The goddess gives you beauty, gives you love, gives you joy, gives you happiness. And you say, yes, and it's mine. And she says, no, it's not. It's a gift. It's not yours. It's all mine. You get to enjoy it, but you don't get to possess it. You don't get to own it. You don't get to manage it. That's why Venus is debilitated in Virgo. You get to enjoy it and release it. If you love someone, set them free, 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 set them free, set them free. And then if it comes back, then it was true love. If it wasn't, then you loved for a time, set them free. See if they come back. Huge lessons coming for a couple months around Venus starting January 27th. And then we have the new moon in Capricorn, Shravana. So February is going to have a lot of Capricorn energy, just like January has a lot of Sagittarius energy. Again, I just did that new moon in Sagittarius for all 12 signs, but I also just did a new moon in Sagittarius for everyone. But you can see how these cycles work. I'll be doing a new moon in Sagittarius for all 12 for the members also. But again, at the oracle level, I'll be doing this for each of the 12 signs. But this new moon in Capricorn is now going to solidify and take the energy from Sagittarius. Oh, I'm inspired. Oh, I understand what inspires me. Okay, but are you practicing it? Are you doing it? Is it a consequential thing in your life? Or is it just something that inspires you and connects you to some big philosophy, but it doesn't really meaningfully change things in your life? Are you willing to let go of the things that are not yours, that you don't own, which is everything. Because eventually we have to. That's not a harsh reality. That's just reality. So that's what the new moon, that's what the Capricorn cycle will be. In Shravana Nakshatra, Shravana means listening or hearing. Listening and tuning into that truth. So that's the month ahead here, January. And again, I want to thank Casey Scott for the calendar. Go to his Instagram and other things. Just look for Gold Star Astrology online and order his calendar. It's fantastic. We're going to have him on soon. But anyway, you have a great rest of your day and a great January 2025. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to the channel.